Come in.
Hey, boss, you got a second?
Hey, Frank. What can I do for you?
Well, the boys and I were talking, and we think some of the things need to change on the job site.
Yeah, like what?
Well, first of all, we had 5 workers crushed in mine collapse last week.
It's a coal mine, Frank. Shit happens.
Yeah, well, on top of that, the rest of the guys had black lung. Tommy just coughed up blood.
We got you guys rags to wear over your faces. What else do you want from me?
It's fucking dark down there, man. We can't wear rags over our faces. We can't see shit.
So what are you saying? You want a raise? Well, forget it. We don't have the budget.
Look, I've been here for 5 years. I'm your senior miner.
Well, maybe we can work it into next year's budget.
Do you have the budget for work gloves? A big piece of suede cut off 2 of my fingers this morning. It really cut down on my productivity.
Well, Frank, look. You got a quota to hit. And if you can't hit it, we dock your pay or you're fired. You know the rules.
Listen, asshole. I got kids to feed.
Welcome back, everybody, to Delete Everything Podcast, your personal Fair Labor Standards Act, getting you out of the mines and fields so you can go back to the 4th grade like a good 10-year-old and learn the backlog of forgotten, deleted, and omitted history. I'm your professor, Patrick Wall, and with me, as always, is the sexy school nurse.
What? That's the one. I get the sexy. You could have done anything.
Yeah, you're the school nurse.
I mean, okay, that was a pretty flawless intro, and I'm happy with that. I'm proud of you. I don't like the sexy school nurse.
Why? You don't want to be sexy?
No, because then you're just, what you're doing, you're sexualizing me in the minds of children, which I think is like a reverse pedophilia.
The coal mines?
Yeah, that's no good.
Coal mines?
The minds. The sexy school
I'm undressing
nurse.
you with my eyes as we speak and imagining you in a sexy school nurse outfit.
Well, I guess
Well, now I am too.
Well, no, thinking about it, like nurses can be dudes too.
That is
Apparently.
true.
I don't know when they let that happen.
You fucking misogynist.
Oops. Sorry.
Get out of here, nurse. Come back when you're abroad.
I think the correct term is Merce. Thank you.
Yeah, we also have we actually have our actual sexy nurse.
Why wasn't he the fucking sexy nurse?
Drew Bully. Producer Drew on the mic today, too.
Yo, see, Riley, you just say your little bit after he says whatever, and then let it go.
Yeah. Right. I'm sorry. Hi.
So, hey, did you guys know that in like a week we're doing our first live show ever? It's almost our 1-year anniversary.
What?
Yeah, I know. Doesn't seem...
Feels like 4 years.
Hey folks, Drew punching in here with some unfortunate news. This has been definitively canceled, the 1-year anniversary live show. We are really working hard on trying to make this happen, but due to a number of factors, we're just not going to be able to do it yet. We'll hopefully make it up later. Apologies to anybody out there who is planning on tuning in. I'm sure we'll do something on that day. I just don't know what yet. It's really nobody's fault. Well, it's Riley's fault. Anyway, this led to a funny conversation about Riley committing crime, so I'm going to punch you back in media res.
Did you ever do the the easy punk graffiti where you could get the the mail postage stickers that would like stick to anything? And you just get a bunch of them at the post office and fucking write whatever you want and just slap them on a wall.
There's one of those.
It's like doing Mod Podge. Those things are fucking impossible to get off.
You know my guitar in the house with all the signatures all over it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of those on there.
Yeah. That was my second favorite way to do graffiti. My favorite was to cut a stencil and put it at the bottom of a paper bag and put the fucking paint can in the bag, and then you could walk and put the bag down and reach in and just real quick and stand up and walk. That was cool. There used to be dicks all over St. George Street.
Well,
oh, you did those?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Beyond that, thanks to anybody who left us a rating or a review this week. Please, if you haven't done that yet, leave us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen on. It only takes a second. I swear to God, if you want to be an even bigger friend of ours, leave us a review and help us get some probably undeserved notoriety. If you're on Apple Podcasts, those reviews weigh super heavily on like our algorithms and stuff like that. So make sure to find us on Instagram and follow us there for photos and videos that correspond with this episode and any other episode. Also, sometimes just when we want to post each other being fucking silly, we do that too. So finally, we've got just a absolute bargain for you. Let's say you've listened to every episode and now you're sitting around bummed out and you're wanting more. Riley, do you think they should be sitting around being fucking sad?
Who am I to arbiter?
Do you have
like,
any
what people
do you
should
have
be doing
any
in their lives?
suggestions for what they might do to make themselves feel better and fill that void in their lives?
Fucking, I don't know. Go for a hike. What are you getting at here?
Fucking Patreon, dude.
Oh yeah, join our Patreon and give us money.
We drop a bonus episode there every week. That's like 40 plus episodes that you have never heard, and they're just waiting. They're waiting there for you. Patreon.com/Delete Everything Podcast. That's where you'll find them. You might have to sacrifice one monthly trip to Dunkin' Donuts. Even then, I don't know. What's a?
I believe it's just Dunkin' now.
Yeah, what's a Dunkin' trip cost these days for like a?
In New
a
England
coffee and a
they call
bagel?
it dunks.
Dumb.
Yeah, I want to go by dunks. You want
What's a
something?
coffee and a bagel at Dunkin' cost these days?
I don't know,
More than
fucking-
that.
More than
It's a
$8?
banana,
$10 at
Michael.
least.
What could it cost? $5?
More than $8. Okay. That's what. So you're not even going to get a Dunkin' trip out of it. You might be able to get in under $8 at Dunkin'. I don't know. If you're a Starbucks girl like me, no way. No way in hell you're getting a coffee and a fucking snack for less than $8. So
Starbucks, you're fucking sucking the corporate teat, huh?
I'm actually not a Starbucks girl.
No, I'm not a fan.
I'm not a Dunkin' girl either. I just
No.
make
I like
coffee
to make
at
my
home.
own coffee that I
Same.
roast the beans myself.
No, I
Bullshit.
usually do cold brew.
What?
I usually do cold brew.
What is that?
There's less acid in it.
Cold brew.
Cold brew
I
coffee.
make coffee cold.
Oh, you're dumb.
Is this some kind of technology I'm unaware of?
Yeah, apparently, if you've never heard of fucking cold brew coffee.
Why don't you just make the coffee and then let it get cold?
Sure, man. You can live your life that way if you want.
That's the way I've lived my whole life. Make a pot of coffee, let it sit on the counter, sift the flies out of it.
Hey, how's your week been, man?
My week? That is a good question. I don't know.
True.
My week's been fucking great. I left the ER. This new job is awesome. I feel like $1 million.
Good for
Oh
you.
yeah, I got a tattoo. That it has been a good week.
No, you guys have good weeks.
Yeah.
Good. I love that. My week has been terrible and dark and stormy, and I'm drowning in a sea of despair. Cut that.
Don't cut it.
Nope.
No, you gotta leave it. It's true though. Moving on.
Okay. We're going to do, it's Labor Day. This is coming out on Labor Day. We figured what better historical thing to do to celebrate Labor Day than the history of using children in the labor force in the United States of America, which unfortunately still exists today, even though most people don't realize that.
Well, yeah, because children don't need to be paid as much because they don't understand the concepts necessary to require a living wage. I mean, this is standard capitalism.
They don't have bills yet, so why do you need to pay them?
Exactly. We fucking pay them in candy.
Have some fucking nerds rope,
Yeah,
kid.
get
Get
some
out of here.
shitty candy. Like, it's fucking Jolly Ranchers and Sour Patch Kids.
Speaking of, we should
Those are
give.
not shitty candies, are they?
What are you? What? No, you want decadent candies to be. If you're gonna be paid, you want fucking truffles.
Yeah, you want like imports from
Yeah,
Europe
chocolate
and
and
shit.
shit. Fucking brandied cherries.
But speaking
Fucking
of paying children,
nerds rope.
speaking of paying children in candy, do we still have any of that shitty Sweetwater candy laying around that we can give my kids for doing the intro?
I don't know.
That's how we'll pay them.
If there is some sitting around, I'd be afraid of what state it's in, but
No, we could do it's what's fun. Just to get like a stick from a tree, right, and then stick it in some peanut butter, and then pour like sugar on it, and be like, look, it's like old timey candy.
this is what kids in the coal mines had to
Yeah.
eat, kid. All right, so let's jump into this shit. I'm sorry in advance. Okay, child labor in the U.S. has a really long, complex history, and we're going to focus just on U.S. child labor on this episode. So
Well, that's good because coming up here, probably in the next several months, they're going to be passing bills allowing children to go back to the mines.
yeah,
The urine for it, right?
Yeah, they yearn for the mines,
Yeah.
as I understand.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
it's
I did a meme.
you know,
Yeah,
we're
you
gonna
hey, you memed it.
Hey.
we're gonna get into some industrial revolution shit. It's gonna get a little brutal, but this is tied intrinsically to the U.S.'s the economic development of this country. It's tied directly into immigration patterns. It's tied directly to labor reform movements, and it's a pretty important aspect of this country's history that gets pretty largely forgotten about. So obviously, we're going to start at the beginning, before we were even a country in the colonial era. When we were just some British colonies, right?
Right.
So
We were never British colony. We were in Florida.
Well, actually, we were at
some point,
yeah.
but this is before.
At a couple points.
At this point in history, you're talking about. We were.
I'm talking about the 13
Spanish
colonies. I'm
Okay.
talking about Northeast English colonies in the 1600s, right?
Yes.
So in colonial America, child labor was pretty common, and it was usually tied to like family farms or apprenticeships or whatever household economics were at play, like blacksmith or farrier, or,
Yeah.
it was very frequent that whatever your family did, if you were the child of that family, whether it was farming or blacksmithing or whatever, that's what you would do from a pretty early age, right? I think that's how most people think of that time, and when you mention child labor, right? But it wasn't limited to that. History would like you to think, just kids helping their parents on the farm in a time where education wasn't that important, and opportunities for education were limited, because that sounds believable in the way back when.
Yeah, I mean they've got tiny hands. They can get like the corn cobs stuck out of the combiner.
Yeah, so that sounds believable, and it sounds just rosy enough that it doesn't affect anybody's it doesn't make you jaded at all. But the reality is it was a way of keeping people in a caste system, right? Because there are plenty of colleges and universities and opportunities for, the children of lords and governors.
Yeah,
they were all going.
yeah.
They were all getting educated.
Yeah,
They were all going to. I mean, some of those guys
Princeton, Harvard, the
Yeah.
Ivy League schools. Those were all founded before independence.
Some of the governors of the colonies would send their kids back to England to go to Oxford. It's funny how these things get painted like, well, this family has a farm, and so the kids don't need to go to school. They need to learn how to farm because one day they'll have the farm.
Yeah, stupid asshole farmers
Yeah.
don't need to read books. What are books good for?
But it's a system of control ultimately.
It's of course. Keeping any form of intellectualism from a particular caste of people is
Right.
always a form of
Well,
control.
yeah, and these children of lords and governors, they come from good stock and not from the rabble.
Exactly. They have access to the knowledge passed down by their wealthy ancestors.
Funny how the modern world is kind of pivoting back to
Can you imagine a farmer in a library?
right. Well, by
Absurd, preposterous.
certain crowds look down upon intellectualism.
Yeah, I
At
mean,
this point.
interestingly
But-
enough, it's always kind of been that way. Like how proud I am of being like a blue collar worker
Yeah.
and an intellectual at the same time. It's like,
Me too.
I mean, fucking 90% of the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis that are like blue collar hammer swingers,
Yeah.
they're also dumb assholes. Which is it's like not to malign my own like class because I'm not like fucking weird little class traitor, but it is part of the cultural milieu that fucking if you're working with your hands, you don't have to be like high-minded about.
Yeah,
it.
you don't have to know things like history and
Yeah.
Which
Which is actually interesting. Side note: the reason that Patrick and I ever even got into this is because we'd be working on job sites together, and then we'd be talking about smart guy shit.
yeah, we'd
And-
be like getting into
yeah.
philosophy and history, and Brian would be there too.
Yeah,
and-
clients would be like, "What the fuck is with you
yeah,
guys?"
literally, client. Like we had a client who was like, "You guys should do a podcast." Like I've never heard construction guys talking about.
We were
stuff.
talking about the
I-
difference. We were talking about the differences between like contemporary philosophers and like postmodern philosophers and like French nihilistic philosophers. We're talking like Jean-Paul Sartre and Camus and like.
Yeah,
I remember this. That was at Sarah's house, right?
I think so.
Yeah. She's just like, "What the fuck with you guys?"
and people would be like multiple.
Brian's like, "Yeah, Jean-Paul Sartre's always jacking off fucking intellectualism, postmodernism, all over the fucking place."
But yeah, multiple clients would be like, I just sit here and listen to you guys, and it's like fascinating that you guys are remodeling my kitchen. Like, yeah, we're fucking smart guys who know how to do stuff. Like, why is that so mind blowing to people?
Well, yeah, exactly. To my point, it seems like there's a concerted effort, maybe from not only within that community, but above that community of blue collar workers to push that sort of thought down and ostracize it.
Right. Yeah, what do you need? What do
to
you
keep-
need all that book
exactly.
learning for? What the hell you need that book learning for?
Yeah, I remember
Work with your hands, boy.
when I was a kid, one of the most interesting people I ever met was my fucking elementary school janitor, who I can't remember his name, but he was like a paratrooper in Vietnam. He fucking lived by himself and was just like every night was out with his telescope because he lived like in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
Fucking, he was out with his telescope, like charting star movements and shit.
And
like,
he's janitor at the high school.
yeah, and everyone's just like, no, elementary school.
Oh,
He's
the
just-
elementary school.
But everyone's just like, this fucking weirdo.
Which is crazy because it's like, I mean, I feel like there's something even more impressive about like following that as a passion and not as a career.
Thinking
You know
about
what I mean?
intellectualism as a job is the death of intellectualism.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump
That's all
in.
just to say that we're very, very smart.
We'd like to think so. Just ask us. We'll tell you how
We're
smart we
big
are.
smarties.
So,
I read books for fun.
whoa, crazy.
Oftentimes I'll record myself doing it so everyone knows that I read books.
So,
I believe I have a recording on my phone right now of me reading Cormac McCarthy's All the Pretty Horses by a stream while I was in New England
Oh
a
my
couple weeks
God.
ago.
okay, so
Just so everyone knows.
God damn it, when the British colonies are first discovered, right? When the New World is, starts to be forayed into by English settlers, England decides, well, we want to build something here in the New World. We have these, this area, so let's push all these indigenous people out and kill them if we have to and build something, right? So they are willing to find people, obviously, they're really fucking chomping at the bit to find people that want to travel here willingly, but they're not above a little pushing and shoving if necessary, right? So one of the things that was crazy abundant in the colonies that was particularly scarce on the British Isles was lumber. So, like, think about it. England has had people living, building, expanding
Yeah.
for so many centuries. They don't have like the boundless forest that colonialists were like sailing into in the New World,
Right.
where you get off the ship and it's like, oh my God. And you don't even know how far it goes.
Yeah, and being
Like,
an
it's-
island nation at a certain point, they do have to like put some protections on that shit. It's like you can't just chop and burn wantonly because it
No.
will be bare pretty
No.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the funniest things I ever found out was like, I always loved like Robin Hood tales when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and finding out that Sherwood Forest is just like a little,
Yeah, it's just an itty
nothing.
bitty little thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a few acres, and I'm like,
Well, at one point, I'm sure it was quite large. But
I mean, but not having grown up in the southern U.S. where there are just, I mean, not even acres, just miles, square miles and miles and miles and miles of just rural wilderness. That even back then was not the case with Sherwood Forest. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right, yeah.
So that always kind of that always made me giggle a little bit once I found out about it. So, but yeah, so these colonialists get here in the New World, and these, there's just trees forever. They don't even know where forever ends at this point. It just goes. We walked a long way, dude. It's just nothing but trees and guys, with long hair and bows and arrows.
yeah,
There's-
there is still pretty expansive forests all across America, even
Absolutely.
after generations of just wanton choppery.
Yeah. So the colonies have all these resources, but not enough people. And England has all these people, but not enough resources. So pretty easy to see where we go from here. Orphans and children. Poor and orphaned children. That's what happens. England would literally send pauper kids and orphaned kids to places like Virginia to work plantations or smithies or as house help
Mhm.
or building construction. And these kids were indentured servants, child indentured servants. Because that's another thing. When you think indentured servants, you don't think fucking orphaned kids
Mhm.
that just get scooped out of the orphanage in England and thrown on a ship. And it's like, all right, go, kid.
I mean, it is a cliche that England was packed full of fucking orphans, but
Yeah.
it makes sense too because like London was just rife with disease, and people didn't live to, I mean, maybe 30 something.
Yeah.
Like I'm 37, right? I'd be fucking dead by now.
You'd
more likely.
you'd
So-
be an old man if you were still
so-
knocking about.
Yeah, exactly. So like, a lot of kids running around without supervision. It'd be pretty, makes sense to pack them off.
I guess. So they were bound into indentured servitude. There were colonies that had something called poor laws, right? Where poor and orphan children could be bought at auction, like a slave auction,
Yeah, I mean that is a slave auction.
as
You're
indentured servants.
If you're buying an indentured servant, that you own that
Right.
person.
Well,
so.
for a time at least. So, and this was typically any kid considered to be quote unquote idle, right? AKA unemployed at the ripe old age of, I don't even fucking able to walk, I
Right,
suppose.
yeah.
So these kids were usually from poor families that depended on some sort of public support. So they'd be taken to an orphanage until they were 14 years old and then sold at auction where they were held as property until they were either 18 for females or 21 for males, usually.
Mhm.
Those laws varied. So that's not consistent, but usually by the time, so if you bought a little orphan girl at 14 years old off the auction block, she was your indentured servant until she was 18 years old. Boy, till they were 21 years old, right? And then they could, I guess, have their freedom. But I mean, you know.
Then away with you.
Well, but we know the history of indentured servitude.
Once your supple nubile body is grown beyond my pleasure.
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's fucking is
18 years old.
Creepy English
Disgusting.
lords and their fucking vassals.
Disgusting.
Their wards, not like a proto, like a fucking like a trope at this point.
Yeah, it is. It is.
The British invented buggery, as far as I understand.
Oh my God. Pretty sure the Greeks had a pretty storied history with that as well.
There was probably some prehistoric buggery as well, I'm guessing.
Prehistoric buggery, good band name.
Hey, I did one.
Yeah, Brontosaurus buggery.
So, but I mean, any other story where somebody is legally bound as a laborer, the person you were bound to was the main determinant in whether your experience was going to be tolerable or whether it was going to be shit.
Yeah.
Because we do have stories about people who were indentured servants, the people that they were bound to, figuring out ways to keep them longer, you know,
of course.
By back charging them stuff like room and board and food and stuff like that.
That's even, especially
and
if
then
you
they keep them in their service.
If you're talking
indefinitely.
about like the English experience, that was almost like a well-trodden path, like a trope that everyone understood.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. You ever hear Pirates of Penzance?
Yes.
Pirates of Penzance is specifically about somebody who like mistakenly becomes the apprentice to a pirate instead of a ship's pilot. You know, fucking just a comedy. But his indentureship is until his 21st birthday, right? And then they find out later that he was born on leap year, so they could keep him until he's 47.
Well, that wasn't, I mean, but also a normal thing would be, okay, I got you at auction when you were 14. Now I keep you until you're 21, right? So that's 6-7 years.
Right.
Frequently, when they would hit 21, then that person they were bound to would go, okay, so now you owe me for 7 years of room and board, 7 years of food, 7 years of medical costs. I've got it all documented here, and this is how much money you owe me. So you're going to have to work that off. So now that person is there for even longer. By the way, still accruing costs for room and board and food and medical costs. And so it just, it just never ends. Legally speaking, these kids were supposed to be taken in as apprentice tradesmen or to learn specific skills. But how do you think that shit worked out?
Seems like they become slaves pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, lots of kids were left to live in inhumane squalor. They weren't really taught anything. They were frequently overworked, doing servant work.
I can see the situation where it's like, yeah, I'll teach you blacksmithing next month. For now, clean my house, fucking
exactly,
make my dinner.
Because people are horrible when there's no oversight.
Yeah,
when
people are the fucking dirt work.
When you own a human and nobody's there to make sure that you're doing what you said you're going to do, who the fuck cares?
I mean, that's the spectrum, right? Like, say if you're indentured to a blacksmith, right? There's the two like ideas of one's like an honest man who's like showing you the craft instantly from a young age and like takes you under his wing.
Sure, I'm sure there were those people.
The other one just abuses and beats you and fucking fetch my tools.
And I'm positive there were those people too.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, additionally, how many of these kids, boys and girls, do you think were sexually exploited on top of everything else?
I mean a massive number, especially considering how do I say this delicately? The endless history of pedophilia throughout human culture.
Yeah. In a colony thousands of miles away from the oversight of its actual government, colonies sort of in the process of building, in the process of creating government, in the process of creating oversight, you just have sort of these sporadic communities that are constantly under construction, constantly building.
And then also bushwhacking and making fucking cabins way out in the woods away from people. And
there's even if there is a police force, maybe you're in one of the bigger ones like Boston or New York or Philadelphia, where that come up faster. Those police forces had way more things to do than make sure that fucking blacksmith Chappie out in the fucking woods isn't raping that boy that he got off the auction block.
Yeah, I would say that there's a 100% chance that like fucking the Texas Rangers or some shit in 1801, if they come across like they're looking for somebody and they have to interview somebody on a fucking farmhouse in the middle of like 50 miles from any civilization, isn't concerned about who they're raping.
No, not at all.
They're like, did somebody stop here for water? That's all I care about. I don't give a fuck about
We're
your
looking for a
incest
guy.
monster
Shut up.
children.
Shut up, rapey. I'm talking to the rapist. I need information. God,
Boy, you got a lot of kids here. All seem pretty malformed.
yeah. Quiet and distant. Why are they all so quiet and
What's
distant?
going on here?
Why are they scared like feral children?
Maybe I don't want to be on this episode.
I personally, when I have malformed incest children, I just shoot them out back.
Compost pile? Is that what your compost pile is?
To get this out, shoot them out back with a compost pile.
God,
I knew this
damn.
one was going to be dark. I didn't know shooting incest babies out back and composting them was where we were going.
Malformed.
Yeah.
Malformed incest babies.
That was funny until you repeated it.
I quit.
So also, as far as indentured servants go, most of us have heard stories of immigrants wanting to come to the New World and, signing up for indentured servitude to pay for passage.
Little do they know.
Yeah, again, a thing where results vary based on who you're bound to. It turns out that the children of these immigrants were also conscripted into the same servitude, and there were like no scruples about this.
Yeah. Well, imagine that. Like you come to a shore and you're like, yeah, here I, conscripted into the service here. And they're like, great, who's that with you? It's like, oh, these are my kids. You're like, oh, you mean your fellow workers?
Yeah. They need to pay me for passage too. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no burgeoning labor movement at this point in time. We're in the mid 1600s, like I said. So there's no labor movement. There's, we've also got colonies with textile manufacturing taking off in the mid 1600s, right?
Right.
Places like Jamestown, Virginia, they opened 2 linen manufacturing facilities in 1646. They sent out requests to neighboring counties, all the counties around Jamestown, Virginia, right? To send 2 poor boys or girls, at least 7 to 8 years old, to learn how to spin and knit and weave linens.
Okay.
This is funny. Philanthropists, quote unquote, in Boston created a school in Boston to teach poor kids how to spin linen too. And I understand that philanthropists at the time would spin this tale of, well, we're teaching these kids valuable skills, these poor kids, But
Like
that's
like
not
a
what
trade
this,
school.
That's not what this is. This is, we need textile workers. Where them poor babies at?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they're cheap. They don't eat that much. Hands are small.
Right.
They fit between the things.
And then you create the subtext in hindsight to look like a philanthropist. The tail wags the dog, right?
Yeah.
Then the philanthropist goes, well, they were poor and we brought them to this school and taught them
It's
valuable
not
lessons.
my fault they died of typhus. Our working conditions are exactly as the law prescribes.
So, yeah, I mean, it just, but like I said, at this time, there are no scruples about this. It is a colony being built and it's all hands on deck. Education be damned. We need them baby laborers. Right?
Yeah.
So, sure, children worked alongside their parents in agriculture, as most of us learned in schools as kids, with the Little House on the Prairie type fucking shit.
And of Green Gables.
But they were also bound out as apprentices to, quote, learn trades. But even though that was like usually framed as training rather than exploitation, we know enough about human history to know that there's no fucking way that no one took advantage of cheaply acquired servant babies.
Yeah, that's pretty... Because
we have history to look at and we know.
Yeah, I just can't imagine being...
We can see an example after example.
I can't imagine being a father and being like, hey, I'm going to leave you with this portly tinsmith for the next 6 years. Have fun. He seems decent. He probably won't beat and fuck you.
Right, unless you live in a state with a poor law, in which case they just take your kid. Because you're idle and your kids are idle. So we're gonna bring them to the auction. Well, we're gonna bring them to an orphanage until they're 14. Then we're bringing them to auction. Fucking horrible.
That's horrifying. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, Not to toot my own horn here, but I'm pretty sure that if somebody tried to take my child, I would kill them.
Shoot them in the face.
Yeah, or stab, murder.
Yeah,
I'm sure in a legal sense it would end up with me dying.
Yeah,
but there's
you'd
a
be
lot of
hanged. You'd be
murdering
hanged.
that goes on there.
Yeah, you'd be hanged.
Hanged nothing. Good luck. Good luck getting me there. I'm biting fingers the whole way. You're gonna fucking kill me with a rock before we get to jail.
So So as we go through the revolution, the American Revolution, not the Industrial Revolution, as we go through the American Revolution, gaining our sovereignty from England, cotton was a big industry at that point. I did do a quick fast forward, by the way. We were in the 1650s. Now we're in the 1770s, 1780s, right?
Cool. Cotton. No problems with the history of that particular product.
Yeah, well, yes, but that's
easily accessible, grows like a weed.
That's not what we're talking about in this episode. We have talked about that in an anthology series of 3 back-to-back episodes. We could have named them The Problems with Cotton. Part 1, 2, and 3.
The problems.
But I think what we named
want
it
to
was
go back and rename them?
I think what
elephant in the room here.
I think what we renamed them, or what we named them, was the Underground Railroad 1, 2, and Tales of.
You know something horrible. Maybe this is like a generational thing, I guess. Weird to tell this one. Are you familiar with the Little Rascals?
Yes.
Okay.
I sent you a Spanky. What's his last name?
McFarlane.
Spanky McFarlane signed memorabilia that I found.
Right. So everybody's familiar with the movie The Little Rascals, right?
Mhm.
All those characters. But then there was the actual,
Spanky, Alfalfa,
like the Hal Roaches,
Buckwheat,
our
Froggy.
gang. Yeah. All these guys, but that was from 1922, 23.
Yeah.
There'd be all these little shorts with all these kids, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, so you had like 2 black characters, or three. You got Buckwheat at a certain point.
Yeah.
Right, but it was originally it was Farina, who was like an older boy.
They had it for fucking breakfast grains.
Well, okay, so there was Farina, and then there was Stymie, who was I think
That's
the young
right,
intellectual. I always loved Stymie because he wore a little bowler cap.
That's right. Yeah.
And somebody's like, "Hey, Stymie, can I have some candy?" He goes, "No, that's all I got." Yeah, I like Stymie, but Stymie had a little brother named Cotton.
Oh boy.
And
I didn't know that.
there's an episode. So I watched all of the Little Rascals when I was a kid, and I am ashamed to say that I just thought that they were charming until I was like in my 20s, and then I started realizing, oh boy.
Well, I think that was a deliberate. That was meant.
And it is
deliberately.
it's very charming because these kids doing funny shit. You know, it's like there's a lot of funny stuff there.
Sure.
But then every now and then you come across.
It's like, what if we made the Three Stooges but with adorable little
Yeah,
children?
exactly. And the kids are all fucking great, and like
Yeah.
Stymie especially was like a hilarious child.
Mhm.
But there's an episode of that where Stymie finds like a magic lamp, and wherein his wishes are, I wish I had some watermelon. I wish I had some fried chicken. And then the most apropos, I suppose, was I wish Cotton was a monkey.
Oh, wowzers!
Yes,
that's problematic.
That's problematic to the extreme. Well, then of course the hijinks that ensue is like Cotton goes off somewhere, right? And then there's like a monkey there.
And then a monkey gets
and
loose.
Stymie thinks it's his little brother, and whoa, he's chagrined. He's like, oh no, I turned my brother into a monkey. It's a whole thing. It's charming
Oh my God.
and horrifyingly racist.
The only thing that could make it worse is if the monkey eats the watermelon at some
I am
point.
guaranteed that that's what happens.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
We'll make
it's
the monkey
bad-
eat the watermelon.
It's bad stuff. So every time we talk about the
Some
topic
fucking
of
asshole director.
I say this is every time. Oh, speaking of child labor, this is little kids being made to be
exploited,
entertainers,
yeah.
and all of the Little Rascals had trauma, and I think one of them ended up Robert Blake Froggy ended up being a murderer later
Jesus,
in life.
really?
Yeah. There's all kinds of shit. And
Fascinating, horrifying.
Crimes of Hollywood.
Crimes of Hollywood. We can go let's do the Little Rascals at some point.
We should.
That's fucking fascinating stuff. But every time that we discuss Cotton, ever, the thing that pops into my head right away, and it's horrible that that's what it is. But I just think I wish Cotton was a monkey.
Oh my God.
Thank you for listening to Delete Everything.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
This will be our last episode, probably. So, okay. Like I said,
so break in one time.
Yeah.
I watched like an episode of Little Rascals with my wife one time, and she was like, Jesus Christ, why the fuck?
Oh my God. So, okay.
And I was like, okay, all right, I get it.
Not as charming as I remember. Not as charming as I remember at all. I'm sorry, honey.
More endearing when I was a child.
So like I said, I fast forwarded 100-something years. We can't hang out in the 1600s for too long. So by the time we're in the latter 1700s, right, around the American Revolution, cotton industry is supplying the U.S. and England for linens, right?
Right.
Obviously, once the Revolutionary War is in action, that cotton supply suffers going to England, right? I doubt it stopped completely because, the best capitalists will extra capitalize on war shortages. So treason be damned. Somebody made some fucking money shipping cotton out to England anyway.
Right.
But supply chain was fucked. But on the flip side of all that, all the machines and shit for post-war industrialization were manufactured in England. So think about this. England has colonies in the New World, right?
Right.
There are boundless resources there, but all the tools to industrialize the colonies, all the people who know how to operate those tools, they're all in England.
The Tartarians.
All that stuff's happening in England, right? All that stuff is coming from England, being shipped over from England, right?
Uh-huh.
The people with the expertise and all the machinery and all the things to industrialize the New World. So the revolution happens. It wasn't televised.
It was before television, I was going to say.
England loses, right? The U.S. becomes a sovereign nation.
Yeah, England loses because there's a bunch of bitches. As far as I understand.
And, you know, England now has a very fucked up supply chain.
Although I've heard that Guernsey is the toughest and strongest of people.
Guernsey is Guernsey's in the wind. I'm not sure.
England has some trouble,
when
but
they're coming back.
Guernsey's great. You heard it here, folks.
That was last month. We haven't heard from them in a while.
Yeah, we have. They're in the wind, man.
Well, then fuck Guernsey.
Fuck Guernsey.
So this revolution happens. England loses. U.S. becomes an independent nation. England now has a fucked supply chain. What do you do if you're England? This new nation just went to war against you. Against all odds, they won that war, and they still want to industrialize, but we've got all the fucking machines and the expertise. What is our incentive to help out with that?
Money.
Yeah, that is true. But there were England imposed a ton of export restrictions. So the U.S. had to develop a lot of these machines and stuff on their own, and they used, for the cotton industry in particular, to industrialize that here, they used a ton of women and children.
Yeah.
So to have this independent cotton industry without British assistance. So as we get into the late 1700s, we're boogieing along with the Industrial Revolution, right?
Right.
And as factories and mills and mines grow, particularly in the Northeast, child labor shifted from that sort of family-centered work on the farm or with dad who's a blacksmith or whatever, to wage labor.
Right.
Children as young as 6 years old are working in places like textile mills, glass factories, coal mines, food canneries, and they're working 12 to 14 hours per day, and dangerous conditions are like super common. A lot of
dangerous conditions for children at the glass factory.
My 6-year-old on the canning line lost a finger. How? So, and a lot of poor immigrant families depended on those children's wages as much as their own for fucking survival too. So
damn, so it must have been a real hit when they died from glass.
They're just breathing fucking molten glass.
Got a bit of a cough. I've been breathing crushed glass all day.
So let's talk about Samuel Slater and the cotton mill that he builds in Rhode Island in 1789.
Okay.
So Sammy here was coined the father of the American Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
Which is
Samuel Slater, great-grandfather of Christian Slater.
I hope so. And that's a pretty killer nickname, right?
Yeah.
The father of the American Industrial Revolution. Want to guess who dubbed him with that?
Hold on.
Moniker?
Sammy Slater.
It's somebody we've talked about on this podcast
Island.
In not so glaring terms.
Thomas Edison? I don't know.
I don't think Edison's alive yet.
No, he's not. But I'm trying to think, like, who's a fucking piece of shit?
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson. King of Shit Mountain.
Yeah. This guy, Samuel...
Thick Hickory.
Thick Hick. Oh, my God. That's a good callback. So this guy's pretty interesting. He was born in England.
Andrew Jackson?
No, Samuel Slater.
Pretty interesting character.
Andrew Jackson is an interesting character, not in many good ways, but So Samuel Slater was born in England. He was one of like a million kids. He was one of 8 kids. I think he was like the 5th of 8. Born in a farming family of pretty moderate means. And when he's a whopping 10 years old, he starts working at a cotton mill owned by Jedediah Strutt.
Is that J-E-D? Jedediah?
Jedediah. Yeah. Jedediah Strutt in Belpa, Derbyshire.
Belpa, Derbyshire.
Belpa, Derbyshire.
You know, Jedediah Strutt over at Belpa, Derbyshire.
Belper, Derbyshire would be the way that...
Belpa, Derbyshire.
Belpa, Derbyshire. So, and he goes.
This is the fucking pop. Yes, I'm from Belpa, Derbyshire. You know, Jedediah.
Jedediah Strutt at your service.
Like, did
From
you just have
Derbyshire.
do you just have a fucking seizure? What are you talking about?
Jedediah Strutt, Derbyshire.
I'm a scat
Fucking
man.
possessed.
Derbyshire. I'm a scat man. Jedediah Strutt, Derbyshire. Jedediah Strutt, Derbyshire.
Oh my god, another song we have to make.
Fuck me.
Oh my God.
We got an album's worth of this shit now. We do.
Absolutely.
Damn it.
Okay, so he goes to work for this guy at 10 years old to gain whatever wages he could for his family, right? His dad dies when he's around 14 years old, and he gets indentured out to Strutt to become an apprentice. By the time he's 21, so that would be like 1789, the Revolutionary War has been wrapped up for 6 years, right?
Mhm.
That ended in 83. And Slater hears that the U.S. is trying to develop textile machines, but because of the import restrictions, England ain't really helping, right? So Slater memorizes as much as he can to bring to New York to start building cotton mills in the U.S. He literally like goes through and like memorizes how everything's built. All these fucking, whatever they're called, the fucking wheels, the
Textile mills?
yeah.
The spinning wheels?
Yeah. I've got the names of them in here somewhere. So he hops a ship to New York and he gets here. By the way, he's the father of the American Industrial Revolution here. Want to know what he's called in England or what he was at the time?
Burpee Derbyshire fuckbag dickhead.
I feel like
The man who stole our cool shit.
I feel like if I gave you one hint and enough time, you could possibly guess it.
Okay.
Let's try.
It rhymes with his last name.
What was his name? Strut? No.
Slater.
Slater.
Trader or something?
Yeah,
Trader.
Slater the Trader.
Slater the Trader.
Slater the Trader.
Yeah. So he arrives in New York. He travels to Rhode Island and he partners up with a textile guy, and he promises a bunch of stuff to this dude, this textile guy, Moses Brown. Moses Brown, who by the way is a Quaker, is an abolitionist.
It's a solid Quaker name.
Moses Brown,
Yeah.
He's a Quaker abolitionist. He's also co-founder with his brothers of Brown University.
Oh, hey. Oh.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh?
Those Quakers had it going on.
So it's super convoluted, but Brown had acquired spinning wheels from England. So he brought spinning wheels from England, and he wanted to build a water-powered factory to spin cotton. Moses Brown did. I'm not talking about Slater.
Right.
Moses Brown had these wheels, right? And he had this idea to build this water-powered cotton mill. But his setup was completely inoperable. So Slater comes in and looks at it. He's like, yeah, this is not going to work. I know how to make it work. Like, Slater's 21 years old at this point.
Right.
He's a kid, you know? Maybe by fucking late 1700s standards, 21's not a kid. And you're a man. You're a man,
At that
man.
time, yeah.
You're middle-aged.
Yes, your first child has died at that point.
Absolutely. And the third one. And a miscarriage on the fifth.
Yeah.
And, but we got
glass
three. We got
accidents.
three. All
Glass accidents. You've been to war.
Yeah, seriously. Slater knew how to make it work. He wrote to Moses Brown promising as much, and Slater single-handedly constructs from memory the first water-powered spinning machines with Brown in 1973.
Nice.
And he continues to tweak the construction. He ends up building the first successful water-powered roller spinning textile mill in the U.S.
Now, hold on a second. When we say he built it from memory, I think it's pretty easy to take it into conceit that what he had memorized was the overall gist.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when people, like the fucking historical context is so weird and shit like that, because they'll be like, no, he fucking remembered every blueprint of everything.
No.
He probably looked at it and was like,
yeah, so this drives this, and the water spins this wheel, and that runs this belt up, and
right. It's like, I can build a spiral staircase. Right. It's not going to be the exact same spiral staircase fucking everybody else has ever built.
Right. So, like I said, 1793, the first successful water-powered roller spinning textile mill in the U.S. For reference, Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin in 1794, the next year.
Yeah.
Slater starts using the management skills that he learned from his mentors in England to teach workers the skills necessary to spin cotton into textiles, right? The problem is he's teaching a bunch of children.
Ugh.
He uses the same system that he learned in England, which was using
beating them.
it was using women and children, women and their children to work the factories.
Oh, it's that so they can beat the children.
Yeah, so moms can beat their own
Yes.
kids. To go faster.
And
we
then
need,
their husbands,
we need the money, motherfucker.
The husbands can beat the wives
When they get
and then-
home.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then
When they get home and the wives give them their day's wages, they're like, it's not enough. You didn't make enough.
Yes.
Fucking.
they'll send you back with a note that says that your husband should dutifully beat you with something about the width of their thumb.
So yeah, he uses this. The first employees of the mill were children aged between 7 and 12.
Oh, getting in early. Yeah.
Now, eventually they recruited whole families. They developed entire tenant farms and villages, provided company-owned housing nearby, company stores. He sponsored a Sunday school where college students taught the children reading and writing. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah, sounds like paradise. Yeah.
This sounds like something we've covered so many times on so many different topics and never works because it's exploitative.
You mean topics like the Underground Railroad or
Fruit Wars, coal, the Coal Wars.
Coal Wars. So company housing,
Company towns.
Yeah, never a great thing to have.
I'm gonna pay you so you can give me the money back and all the things I provide you with.
Hey, your child got crushed in my textile machine. I'm gonna have to fire you. You have about a day to get off the premises.
I think it would more be like, I'm going to have to fine you, and now you have to work for me longer.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to clean and repair the machine.
I'm gonna need you to get pregnant now. So in England, this was called the family system. And
You signed a contract as a family.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It's called the family system. And these, quote, employees are largely women and children from families considered to be idle, right?
Right.
These are, well, they're contributing nothing to society. Bring the children and the women in.
Yes.
Let them make textiles. We'll teach them valuable skills. And this was a common practice that came over from like this Charles Dickens-esque Industrial Revolution England, you know, where you see just the fucking sad children standing on the bank of the Thames and they have no fucking parents and they're just destitute and fucking look like shit. And,
Please, sir.
well, yeah, exactly. So that's how I envision it, at least. So, and this was so common in England that these machines were literally designed for children to work them.
Yeah.
They were built for like nimble little 7-year-old hands,
Mhm.
right? A man couldn't get in there and do that. And sorry, your
Yeah,
hands
these
are too
big
big.
meaty hands.
We can't make them bigger. These are for kids. That's kid size. So this is a quote from a book by Edith Abbott written in 1913 called Women in Industry, A Study in American Economic History. Quote, George Washington applauded the use of young girls in the flourishing cotton industry. Philanthropists of the time also cherished the, quote, industrious childhood and joined statesmen
the
as-
industrious childhood.
And
These
joy-
are thrifty lads.
and joined statesmen as well as economists to point out that the income and output generated by the 600,000 girls in the country between ages 10 and 16 years of age enhanced the national economy as well as their family income.
And think, at a certain point, they can have children that can go to work.
Yeah. In short, child labor was collectively approved by the philanthropists, protectionists, and national leaders, end quote.
Oh, you mean inhumane, horrific human abuses that can lead to profit put into the pockets of greedy, blood-sucking lizard people? Yeah,
Yeah, you got it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
It sounds
yeah,
like in America.
nailed
Yeah,
it.
that sounds
Is this
good,
the first future history episode we've done?
No, it turns out actually as we keep going down the lines, we're in the same exact goddamn world we've always been in.
Kind of.
Just
Yeah.
the style is slightly different.
Jesus. So, like I said earlier, this is such a common practice that everybody thinks it's a great idea to have 10-year-old girls spinning textiles instead of learning fucking math.
What a girl's got to count for.
By the way, it's a statement to the world that we live in now that there are 100% people who would listen to this and be like, yeah, what's the problem with that?
That's what I'm saying.
Currently in
Yeah.
2025.
No, there's plenty of, I would say
They're not only saying
monster
that's not
people.
a problem, they're making moves to have things like this happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the exact same goddamn world and has been the whole time. I feel like it's just isolated pockets of society and civilization that at certain points have been like, hey, maybe we shouldn't sexually abuse children or, make children work in factories or things like that. And those get like some power for, 20, 30 years.
Mhm.
And then eventually another group comes in and is like, I really want to like fucking abuse kids though.
Things were better
Yeah, I feel like things were a lot better when I was.
when we could rape and exploit children.
Yeah, I feel like that was like the cornerstone. And then
Remember when America was great?
and then everyone, and then everyone goes like, "Hey, what are you talking about? That's
Let's
psychotic."
do that again.
And you go, hey, that's fucking insane. Why would you say that? And they're like, hey, man, don't just come at me like that.
Yeah.
And then somebody else goes, yeah, I kind of like his idea about fucking the kids. And then eventually you're at a fucking crossroads because you're going butt head to head.
And then the internet becomes a thing, and where these people who were isolated to their own little fucking corners
they can all team up.
Now they can find each other. Yeah.
And then they're in the streets and they're like, let's fuck kids. Let's fuck kids. And the other group is like, Jesus Christ.
God damn it.
I almost said something. I'm not going to.
A lot of these young girls worked 13 to 14 hours a day. Overtime was voluntary, but since they were paid at a piece rate, so by how many, swaths of fucking cotton you make, like of linen you make, right? It's called a piece rate. The girls preferred longer hours to earn enough money in a shorter period, and then they could go back to their homes. And, even though overtime was voluntary, it was still pretty common because I might as well just stay and make as much as I can in this, this one fucking 20-hour shift.
Right.
So by the time we get to the mid 1800s, power looms become much more common, and there's more competition from new mills. We've got westward expansion by that point, mid 1800s, right? A lot of people are going west.
They're pushing that power loom technology into the new horizon.
Yeah, well, so the textile industry began to suffer quite a bit. A lot of the girls that normally would have stayed in, the industrial Northeast and worked in these mills were taking jobs in the West as teachers and missionaries and just other jobs that paid better.
Just generally like, hey, let's get the fuck out of here.
Just other jobs that paid better on this new frontier, which was a little wilder and I'm sure was not lacking in any way in exploitation and abuse and all the horrific things.
There's always, I think,
at least you got a different landscape, baby.
There's a human instinct that's like, me being miserable in this factory is not the same as me being miserable in the woods. It's like there's a very like, I gotta get the fuck out of this like gray building, and go, I don't know, get eaten by a bear or something.
In overcrowded Philadelphia,
fuck that.
Exactly. So the cotton industry went through a pretty shitty recession before, around the 1850s when the Irish immigrant families started coming over, and they started taking mill jobs and living in those same mill row houses. So, men, women, and children coming over from Ireland and working these low wage jobs after decades of local girls running these mills. So now it's all immigrant labor, the entire families, right? So I know that we focus mostly on the cotton industry, mostly because that was like the biggest employer of children at that time. But other industries were taking advantage as well, right? Including shoes and boots, clothing, cigars, printing and publishing. A lot of industries employed a lot of young boys and girls. And in a lot of these industries, the division of labor, mechanization, unionization, and waves of immigration either increased or decreased the level of child labor, right? Whatever was going on in society, if we have a big wave of immigrant labor, then we don't need as many kids, So, but I mean, we really have constantly like these children, particularly girls, being used to do a lot of shit like shoemaking, cigar making, clothing stuff, the cotton industry, stuff like that. So by the time we get to the late 1800s, we finally start to see some reform movements. The late 1800s give rise to this sort of progressive era of reforms and reformers. Journalists, photographers at this time, they brought a lot of public awareness to this issue of child labor. People like Lewis Hine, who I did not know his name, but almost anybody has seen this man's photographs. He was a photographer who was kind of like one of the first historical documentarians. Like a lot of the photos you see of kids working in mines and glass blowing factories and cotton mills, all taken by Hine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this guy was...
That was like his topic, like his kids working.
Yeah, he was a labor reformer. He was a photographer. I can't remember what his actual educational background was, but yeah, he
was an abused apprentice in the photography workshops,
possibly in the printing and whatever. Yeah, so many pictures. Like you'll if you look up like Lewis Hine photos, like there are pictures that you'll recognize and be like, oh shit, okay, like there are some famous photos that he took, and he was not a popular guy once he started bringing some of like the shittier visuals of child labor to the surface. Because by the time we get to the mid to late 1800s, the exploitation of child labor doesn't look good on film, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, frankly, looking at these pictures, it looks fucking great. These are great pictures. But as far as human rights abuse,
right. That's what I'm saying. Is like the pictures
damn,
are
these are good
fucking
pictures.
phenomenal.
He took the
You
picture.
showed me a
Of
few of these earlier,
he
right?
took the picture
Yeah.
of the guys on the fucking steel beam in New York.
Did he
You know that
really?
one?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
like
he's
one of the most iconic pictures
he's
ever.
got a lot of really famous.
Lunchtime on the high beam.
Yeah, he's got a lot of really famous photos. But you know, he becomes pretty quickly persona non grata once he starts publishing these photos and sending them to newspapers and really bringing some of these, you know, maybe not viscerally horrific images, but I mean, you look at him and you're like, why is that kid doing that? You know what I mean?
Why does
Like
this kid look like he's 39 years old?
the one that I sent earlier.
No,
Frank.
Look at this one. That kid's probably like 12.
Yeah.
He looks like he's fucking been in the mines for decades.
Like I said, this exploitation of child labor doesn't look good on film. This is stuff that most of these companies want to hide from the public, and photography is not allowed in their factories. So, Jesus.
It's really fucking sad.
That one looks like Max.
So Louis Hine gets creative, right? He would hide his camera and he would assume a personality. He'd walk up to these factories and say,
I just love abused children. I love to see them.
He would say, he would hide his camera and he would go, oh, I'm here. I'm the fire inspector, you know, or I'm a postcard vendor or a Bible salesman. Or even he would say he was an industrial photographer and he was making a record of the factory machinery, right? I need to take pictures of the machinery for the record for City Hall or whatever. Right. He'd use that persona to gain access and then he'd take photos. And like I said, none of them particularly brutal from a visceral standpoint, but it's still kids working in pretty heavy industries that most people in this day and age would absolutely not want to employ kids to work.
Yeah, that's bad. It's a nightmare.
Right. And even back then, it was a bit jarring to see kids working in certain industries, right? One of those particularly jarring industries was coal.
Right.
Right. And anyone who is not living in coal belt America probably isn't thinking a whole lot about how that coal was coming out of the ground, right? You live not in coal country.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about the guys going underground. You're not thinking about the kids.
Well, to be fair, I don't use coal very much.
Well, you weren't living in 1850.
That's true.
So,
and if I was, there's a good chance I'd have made my own like charcoal out of wood because it seems like a more humane way to do things.
In the early 1900s, there was an astounding amount of child labor in the coal mines. States kind of individually started passing laws limiting child labor. The problem was that the enforcement was weak.
Right.
And we talked about this even in Coal Wars, which we started that, I think, in like the 1920s. So we're before that. By the 1920s, the child labor in the coal mines was pretty much kaput. But the National Child Labor Committee, which was founded in 1904, campaigned for stricter laws, and they really pushed to have these kids in classrooms and not in cotton mills or coal mines. And that doesn't feel like a particularly crazy thing, but I mean, it amounts to a big reduction in the workforce for these companies, which, surprise, surprise, they're fucking opposed to.
You can't take my child slaves away.
Yeah.
My business will fail.
Right. Not only do I have to fill that with adults now, I have to pay those adults more. So obviously they're opposed to it. They fought it like tooth and nail for a while.
What am I going to do without my slaves? I need them.
You mean in the United States, the rights of companies were regarded more highly than the rights of children?
Whoa. This
That's
is 120 years ago, Drew.
Things are way different now.
Fuck.
Now, as long as you're a white child, then we almost care about you in this country.
So
unless
you're a poor white child.
Unless you're like in a school and somebody happens to be there with a gun, then we don't care that much.
Jesus. So, like I mentioned,
maybe if we were back when America was great, okay, when somebody came through and killed a bunch of 8-year-olds, we could decry that because it had just deprived a company of a workforce.
Yeah.
Remember when we were apolitical on this podcast?
I'm not even saying anything. I'm just
Sure.
trying to be very fucking straightforward.
The problem is that these shouldn't be politically charged things to say.
They should not.
I don't feel like there
Hey.
should be any politicization.
If you're listening to this right now, and you're listening to this right now, and you're like, these guys are woke. Yeah, it's not a bad word.
I don't think there's anything political about saying, hey, maybe
kill.
Maybe having
children.
people walk into schools and shoot up fucking elementary schools
Is less
is not
important
good.
than
I'm
maybe
a
that's
gun
not
owner.
good.
Like I
Same.
You know,
Yeah, I like guns. I think they're cool.
yeah. So don't get me wrong. Like,
I just don't think that kids should
but
be
I'm
shot
also
with them.
yeah, exactly.
That's not controversial, is it?
I think it is.
It-
Unfortunately,
You know,
shouldn't be.
actually, I've given you my gun take though many times. And there's a little digression. I think we could make a killing, no pun intended, with like cooler weapons than guns. Like if somebody
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, guess what I fucking came up with? Like laser blaster."
Do you want to start a trebuchet company or
Dude,
something?
sick. Yeah, you get a trebuchet, you like fucking just a pocket trebuchet, or like,
Pocket trebuchet.
or like, what if a company that's like selling like
Good
fucking
bandit.
throwing stars with explosive charges in them? You know?
Jesus. What are you,
Yeah.
Batman?
Well, somebody's got a gun and I go whap, and then their head explodes. It's dope. You know, let me get like an electric rope that I can
So now we have kids going into schools with fucking Batman throwing
give them to
stars.
the kids, and then we're good to go. Like the fucking gunmen are gonna be like, "Fucking, I'm not going in there."
I think you just made a strong case for arming teachers.
No, he's talking about
I
arming
think
children.
shielding teachers because all the kids are gonna have these weapons. I give the children weapons.
Right. The second grade, Miss Mary's second grade class is like, get under the desk, Miss Mary, and they all pull out their exploding throwing
Yeah,
stars.
fuck yeah. I mean, on another token, you could just be simpler. Give all children machetes.
That's
Just to have.
That's a
just
cool
to
movie.
have.
That's a cool movie.
All children, all of them. Anyone,
the time.
you're born, you don't
Put a
need a
machete in
machete
your hand.
until you're about 5 years old, man.
the
But once you
baby
get
and
there,
the
you got-
baby and its machete go in the bassinet.
the baby gets a little stab, a little switchblade. But then once kids go to school, give them machetes.
Okay. All right. Let's get back on topic here.
I mean, swarming children with machetes.
Yeah,
you
good
know,
luck.
yeah,
Good fucking
exactly.
luck, pal.
yeah, you're not gonna last long.
You start
Um,
hearing gunshots in the hallway, the kids swarm into the hallway. Ah!
8 classes, just the doors bust open, and 30 kids from every
There
class
you
come
go.
running out
Thinking
with machetes.
creatively.
I'm just imagining that one very specific sound effect that we use for blood sometimes. The squelchy.
Yeah. Okay, so like I mentioned, coal was a particularly brutal industry to have child laborers. And once the general public starts seeing Lewis Hines photos, they start asking questions about exactly what these kids are doing for the mines, right? Would
Ask not what your children can do for you.
would you guys like to know what they're doing in the mines? Would you like me to learn?
Sure,
Dying?
yeah, sure.
So dying, no. So
Mostly getting disfigured.
yeah. Starting in the 1860s and running into the 1920s, the mines would hire 8 to 12-year-old boys to be breaker boys, quote unquote, right? Their job was to work 10-hour days, 6 days a week, basically pulling shit out of the coal. So imagine the big coal chutes with like literal tons of coal just sliding nonstop, right? Sliding along. These boys would sit perched on top of those chutes in a long line, like down the chute, right? And they'd stick their boots down onto the coal to stop the flow, stop the coal from sliding down. Whenever they saw something that they'd stop it with their boot, and then they'd pick pieces of slate, whatever other shit
rocks,
they could see,
sticks,
out of the coal, and then they'd release it to the
other
next kid.
children's fingers,
Right?
you know?
Yeah, for sure. Then they'd release it to the next kid.
This
down the
topic
line.
is horrifying. I mean, last week's was really rough, so I think I'm making too many jokes to like counteract this. But I feel like this topic is equally as horrifying as the murder episode we did last week.
Yeah.
But I am making more jokes.
Do we have any light ones coming up?
Is history funny? That's the question. Are we? What is the next one? We have the history of history. Nope, not light. Bad.
Boring Man Crazy Life 2 will be. That's in a couple weeks. That'll be fun.
Okay.
So like I said, they sit up on top of these chutes. They stop, in a long line. One kid stops it with his boot, picks some shit out, releases it, goes to the next kid. If he sees anything, he stops it with his boot, picks some shit out, all the way down the line, right? And then further down the line, you have more breaker boys diverting coal into like horizontal bins. And then they sit there and they pick it clean, just further process it before sorting it into clean coal bins, right? Seems like not the worst kind of work in a coal mine. Pretty simple shit, right? You're not underground, but I'm going to make it horrific now. Ready?
Cool.
So the kids were not allowed to use gloves because fresh coal is slick. And so it was easier to handle without gloves on. The problem is broken pieces of slate are sharp as fuck.
So it's like powder slick is what you're saying, right? Like it's
yeah, like it's just
like it's just got like a thick powder, a thin powder on
got
it,
like
so
a
it's like slippery.
yeah, like with big bulky gloves too. It's harder to like pick the little shit out of it.
Well, yeah,
right?
and then
so
slate. The nature of slate is that it's compressed rock, so it comes off in thin sheets.
Yeah, and it will slice the shit out of you. Yeah. So these 8 to 12
razor blades.
Yeah, so like these 8 to 12-year-old boys are getting the shit sliced out of their fingers and hands on the daily in pre-antibiotic rural areas. So how many fucking infections do you think resulted in amputations?
Gotta cut that finger off.
Yeah.
Or else you're gonna lose your productivity, man. You're not gonna be able to meet your quota with all these fingers if this one's all swollen.
There's also conveyor belts and gears and machinery everywhere, and these kids have to be all up in and on all of it, right? So there were kids who got pushed into the chutes when they tried to stop the flow of coal, like they tried to stop with their boot, and it knocks them into the fucking chute where they just fucking
chunk.
Yeah, they'd end up getting crushed or smothered to death. Other kids lost fingers, hands, feet, legs, or their lives being sucked into belts and gears. The mine supervisors would fucking divert the coal away from that machine and leave the kid dead, corpse still stuck in the machinery, until there was time at the end of the working day to retrieve it.
God damn.
Yeah.
There's no like, hey, stop work. Well, there's not even a, hey, we're going to divert to this other machine, get somebody to fucking take care of this business.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we can't take them away from
just everybody move to the other machine.
Jesus Christ. Those kids are just like, well, there's Mikey.
Yeah.
Here's my best friend.
What's left, what's
my
left of him? Yeah, fucking got his arms and head sticking out of this contraption.
Jesus Christ. So there's also
Let this be a lesson. Don't do what he did.
Yeah, Jesus. So there's also all the dust that dry coal would kick up, which is why most of those photos, the kids are wearing those little lanterns on their hats.
I was wondering what that was. When
Even though they're outside, even though they're not underground, that dust would get so thick that they'd have to use the lanterns to see. And you've got kids heading into their teen years with fucking black lung already.
Fuck.
And obviously, I mean, at best case scenario, asthma issues.
Yeah, and it's going to make it real hard for them to smoke.
Worst case scenario, I'm 14 and I have black lung.
Yeah.
So, by the way, they have zero education. So once they're too old to be breaker boys, aka 13 years old, what do you think their employment options are?
Let's see, dig in the mines.
Yeah, get the fuck underground.
And then you die. That's pretty much what you got.
Now you go underground. Have fun. Which, as we talked about in our Coal Wars episode, was a whole other slew of fucking crazy shit that would happen. Also, one of the final stages of coal processing was to wash it, to get all of the finer impurities out. And that was a job the kids got to do also. And that
got to do.
Yeah. They got to do that.
Hey, woo!
A job which, by the way, created a chemical reaction that produced sulfuric acid.
Oh.
So these gloveless kids are handling and breathing while washing this coal. They've got their hands in sulfuric acid.
Washing coal with water?
I'm not sure with what. But yeah, they'd wash it as the final step to get all the final impurities
hit it
out.
with acetone or something?
I don't know. Whatever they used to wash it would create sulfuric acid, which, like I said, these kids weren't allowed to wear gloves. Not allowed.
Jesus.
Not opted out of. Not allowed to wear gloves. So they're washing coal with bare hands in sulfuric acid with their hands all cut up from fucking slate. I guess that's one way to not get an infection.
Jesus Christ.
And also breathing sulfuric acid.
Nope.
On top of coal dust.
And then you got the black lung too, and then you just cough up your blood and then you die.
Oh my God. So, like I said, by 1904, the National Child Labor Committee had formed largely to educate the public and lobby for stricter laws against child labor and in favor of compulsory education legislation, right? So with the help of people like Lewis Hines, they were able to get some movement going into the 1910s. And by the 1920s, the practice of hiring breaker boys was essentially, like I said earlier, kaput. Right. But then we had, literally, you could go from this part of this podcast and start listening to Coal Wars, and that's where we pick up is in the 1920s.
Wow.
So,
yeah. To backpedal a bit, they would sometimes just water, but they would also sometimes use magnetite to enhance separation. And then for deeper cleaning, they would use some caustic solutions like sodium hydroxide, or hydrochloric or sulfuric acid.
Jesus.
Is what they would use to clean the coal itself. So that's what these kids were getting fucking burned with.
Fun.
Yeah, that's.
Think they're scrubbing the coal.
That's a day's wage, baby.
They're laughing, splashing each other with the sulfuric acid. It's a hot day, you know.
Timmy, splash me with some of that. Get some on the back of my neck. I'm hot. Okay, so by the 20s, things are sort of done in that area. And we start seeing some federal action in terms of child labor, right? Starting in the 1910s. So in 1916, Congress passes the Keating-Owen Act, and President Woodrow Wilson signs that into law. So Congress passes the law, Woodrow Wilson signs it into law, and this limits the hours and ages that children could work. And that was kind of all over the place based on different industries. I'll get into that in a second. It also banned interstate commerce of goods produced by children.
Okay.
Selling things across state lines that were produced by children. Again, it was convoluted in what industries had what age kids working what number of hours, right?
Right.
So a cannery could have, as long as everybody was above the age of 14 and didn't work longer than 8-hour days, then you could sell that across state lines.
Right.
But if you didn't abide by that, but then the coal industry, you had to be at least 18 and you had to work this many hours. And so like so many different industries had, textiles and canning and fucking printing and publishing and all these different things had different requirements for whether you could ship those things across state lines. And so it was super convoluted. Ultimately, the Supreme Court strikes down the law that, like I said, Congress passed, President signed in. Supreme Court strikes it down, citing the federal government's limited ability to regulate interstate commerce. Right?
That actually is an interesting reason to strike the law down, because at the time, interstate like cooperation was like a more difficult situation.
You have to think we're still a pretty new country at this point.
Yeah,
we're a little over 100 years old.
No highway system.
There's nothing. There's nothing in the Constitution, which is pretty much the basis for most of the decisions still to this day. But I mean, we have more laws on the books that aren't constitutional, but they are existing laws. But at this time, there's no law prohibiting child labor. And there's nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government authority to regulate interstate commerce.
Right.
That's a state rights thing. Right. So 3 years later, another attempt, the child labor tax law. That was in 1919. So they take a little bit of a different approach, and they basically start levying additional taxes against any goods produced by child labor. So anything, if you want to send it across state, that's fine. We have the child labor tax law, which is going to apply extra taxes to that. Right. To anything that you want to ship. So again, this is passed by Congress. This is signed into law by the president, and it's also overturned by the Supreme Court for the same reason as the Keating-Owen Act. Quote, the power of Congress to regulate interstate commerce does not extend to curbing the power of the states to regulate local trade.
But that is fascinating.
Yeah. So, but Congress clearly wants protections for child laborers, right?
Right.
And most Americans want legislation laying out these protections, right? The legislators are writing and passing bills to that effect. The president is signing them into law. And then these big asshole companies like Drexel Furniture Company, which still existed until like 10 years ago, they're the ones that took it to the Supreme Court on the second one, on the child labor tax law.
So it's Drexel Furniture paying off 9 dickheads.
They're profiting.
Put children in danger.
Yeah, they're profiting off of throwing kids into the grinder instead of right.
Big furniture.
Yeah, they're profiting off of tossing kids in the grinder rather than educating, and they're bringing legal fights to the Supreme Court, and the court's hands are tied, kind of, because this isn't a thing that the federal government can legislate. So it's kind of like, well, what do you do? So in the 1920s, a constitutional amendment is proposed to give Congress the power to regulate child labor, right? This is going to be a ratification of the Constitution. So this will now be constitutional law.
Right.
Right? This thing's proposed and it starts gaining some traction. Unfortunately, the ratification...
spiders there, Drew?
I was just thinking about the spider. I haven't seen any sign of him.
I haven't seen him either. So unfortunately, ratification of the child labor amendment got stalled in the 1920s by a campaign, an effective campaign to discredit it. And boy, are these some unique arguments against, right? Things we've definitely never heard before. Ready for them?
Right.
Opponents' arguments ranged from things like traditional states' rights arguments against increases in the power of the federal government to legislate interstate commerce, to accusations that the amendment was a communist-inspired plot to subvert the Constitution.
Goddamn communists.
Was the commies
Fortunately, this
trying
is
to
all
disrupt
happening.
states' rights
Did they
to
did they throw down?
commit atrocities?
It's okay to make them work because they ain't got no souls.
Well, fortunately, this is all coming to a head.
Children don't have souls. They get them when they're 18.
Yeah.
exactly. This is all coming to a head in the 1920s, and very soon in the 1930s, we've got the Great Depression, right? So that turning point happens when we hit the Great Depression, and we have so many adults unemployed that, again, there's not a huge appetite for most Americans to have kids working
Right.
these jobs. And now we've got all these unemployed adults. So why the fuck do we still have kids working? Let's get them,
Like we got plenty of hardworking adults
Right.
ready to.
Maybe that was the real cause of the Great Depression, is regulating child labor.
If you hadn't tried to
be a-
regulate,
Our society would be gilded in gold right
if
now.
those
Right.
kids
If-
had been in the fields,
Hey, you know what it
the
was?
dirt would have been healthy, and we never would have had the Dust Bowl.
It was out of control tariffs. If you really get into the nitty gritty
I
of it.
know.
What's a tariff?
A tariff is an additional tax on goods being imported into the United States.
Oh, it's fascinating. I've never heard anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. It's
Are you sure that's how that works? That's not what I heard. Never mind.
So in 1938, toward the end of the Depression, right, we finally get the Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA, which if you've ever filled out any fucking,
Yep.
employment documentation, you see FLSA stuff.
I have to
on your stuff. Yeah.
re-sign FLSA shit like every year.
Yeah. So this sets nationwide rules, specifically a minimum working age of 16, 14 for some non-hazardous jobs. That's why 14-year-olds can go work at like bag boys at the grocery store and something like that. 18 years old and up for hazardous work, and limits on hours for anyone under the age of 18. Right. So that's why, like when I was a kid, when I was 16, I was working at a grocery store and I had to have a 30-minute break every 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's federally legislated. Right.
Yeah, I did the same thing. That's when I would steal stuff.
Yeah. Same.
I
So
was an under-the-table worker from 12 years old
Yeah.
to
Jeez.
like busting tables.
You
and
were
shit.
like jerking dudes off under tables?
hell yeah.
You.
How'd that pay? What was the pay on that?
Not what you'd think.
What are you getting per HJ?
Not enough.
If you gotta ask, you can't afford it.
That's why Drew has carpal tunnel.
No, it's not the editing.
Were you
this
working
fucking-
at restaurants and shit under the
Yeah,
table?
yeah. And if we go back before that, quick sidebar. How old were you when you got your first job?
Literally the day I turned 16.
I want to say my first like actual like paid gig was like 15.
15.
Yeah.
12, unless you count my father when I was like maybe a little older than Max, bringing me to construction jobs.
Yeah.
To like clean up, all the fucking broken shit and the.
Yeah, I
Doing
did.
demo
I did
and shit like that.
plenty of unpaid labor throughout.
Yeah, I mean,
But I don't know if I count that. So like 12
Yeah.
years old, I was.
Yeah, I
a
always had
busboy.
to help like my dad and uncle and stuff doing
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever bullshit they were
Hey,
doing.
if it helps, when I was 15, my first paycheck, my dad took for rent. So,
Wow.
Wow.
you
Cool
know,
guy.
this is child labor there. I guess, a little bit. It's all right. I was just gonna spend it on literally anything else I wanted to spend it on.
So, by the way, the Fair Labor Standards Act was also challenged in the Supreme Court. But this time they overturned their previous decision in the case of Hammer versus Dagenhart, which was the Supreme Court decision that tanked the Keating-Owen Act.
Hammer versus Dagenhart is fucking. This sounds cool.
That does sound cool. So they overturned their decision in Hammer versus Dagenhart, and they effectively ended the most exploitative child labor industries. But there were still caveats, right? Which, exist to the present day from 1938 to now, right? So after this, what is it? Fair Labor Standards Act. After the Fair Labor Standards Act,
The FLSA.
the FLSA, child labor obviously declined drastically, but it persisted in sectors like agriculture, which was and still is largely exempt from FLSA protections,
Yeah.
right? That's when you start seeing a lot of migrant children working long hours in fields, which is, again, a practice that still continues today. So in the present day, most child labor is regulated with some gaps. And those are the caveats, because when they did this Fair Labor Standards Act, they left loopholes for, agricultural labor, which still allows children as young as 12 to work long hours outside of school. And just recently, like literally just recently, reports have uncovered hundreds of migrant children working in industries like meat packing,
Oof.
construction, food processing.
Meat packing. That's rough.
Yeah, all in violation of labor laws. But these are undocumented and vulnerable populations, which means that the issue hasn't disappeared. It's just evolved. I mean, I definitely remember seeing news stories in like very recent years about this. And when I went online, I found multiple articles about migrant kids working for, there was like several sanitation companies employed to clean meat processing plants. So like they're contracted out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a huge job. It was a fucking building soaked in blood and fucking, biological matter. Yeah.
So
can't just get washed off with water. You got to fucking sanitize that whole bitch.
There was a 14-year-old kid that was like severely injured when they got caught in a fucking chicken wing separator.
Jesus Christ.
That I guess keeps running even when you're cleaning it.
But they had a kid doing the sanitation work?
Yes, a 14-year-old kid.
Fuck.
And got caught in this chicken wing separator and got like hospitalized as a result.
Yeah, because this chicken wing got separated.
Yeah. And at what point does making these decisions turn you into a fucking monster of a human being? We can't turn off the chicken wing separator while it's being cleaned. We can't stop the flow of the wings, baby.
So
you gotta keep them.
The real concern here is that we're presumably getting bleach on our chicken wings when we get them.
How many?
And blood.
There's all kinds of wacky shit on all the meat. Did you ever see Fast Food Nation back when? It was like a weird event movie that was like, there was the book Fast Food Nation that was just like exposed, kind of like a Upton Sinclair sort of exposure of like modern like meatpacking practices and fast food corruption and shit.
Yeah.
They made a movie that had like Greg Kinnear, Bruce Willis, I think Avril Lavigne pops up in it for a minute.
Isn't Greg Kinnear like a lobbyist or something?
He's like a McDonald's like guy who has got to go check out the meatpacking plants because there's been reports of shit in the meat. They say the fecal coliform count is too high, and Bruce Willis is like the slaughterhouse owner who's just like, just cook the meat. That's what the fucking ovens are for.
It's too high.
And then they find out
too much shit on the chicken.
Yeah, there's always going to be shit in the meat.
I know.
Upton Sinclair, it's the jungle, right? But like, then it turns out what they have is they've got migrant workers, right, that aren't properly trained on the gut tables, and they cut the intestines and shit spills all over the meat. And they just kind of like wash it off, right? But the whole big thing around that movie was that at the end they showed a bunch of fucking animals getting
blood.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It was like that was like the big like the shock you get to see. And now
end credits. Yeah.
Now with the
when did that come out?
That was 2005.
Yeah, it was
maybe.
Yeah.
That might have been part of the reason. My wife has been a vegetarian for about that long, about 20 plus years.
I still won't eat McDonald's. I have a couple of times, but like because of that movie, I was like, there's shit in the meat. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's very rare that I eat fast food at all. But yeah, that's like
it's also Avril Lavigne's greatest work.
Like how many
Skater Boy?
The transcendental meditation on personhood and futurism.
There's a Patreon on that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a Patreon.
Yeah, you can learn about that one on Patreon.
They do some labor, boy.
So, but I mean, but how many pennies are you losing by not shutting off the machine while it gets
too many?
Too many pennies.
Can we make the chicken wings a few pennies more, and then we turn it off so that it can be clean, and then we turn it back on when it's clean?
You want to pay for more expensive chicken wings because they don't want to turn off the machine when it's being cleaned?
No, you know what? You're right. Let's just tack off some fucking 14-year-old fingers.
Yeah,
it's the price. It's the price of chicken wings, baby.
To be fair, okay. In the economy that we live in right now, I would be fucking stoked to find a finger like in a bag of chicken wing. I would be ecstatic because
that's a big ass lawsuit.
Fucking suing.
Well, so by the way, also kids working overnight shifts in meat packing plants. Purdue.
The university?
You
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, fucking Purdue chicken.
What, they had that homely, honest spokesperson for all those years.
The Purdue and some other, I'm sure this is like the company name. I'm sure it's what we get as far as a product is a different name, but another meat packer called JBS. But these had migrant children working overnight shifts. Children.
Were they migrant children from Transylvania?
No.
Because then it would make sense that they were working at night in a blood factory. Children clean the separator. They don't season the garlic wings in there, right?
What do you mean?
Because I'm taking vampire jokes.
Oh,
Jesus. If it was a bat, it would have bit you.
Stupid. As far as agriculture is concerned, I tend to believe that the 12-year-old exception in 1938 was more for like rural agrarian areas that depended on like, families that depended on their own children to help run the farms. But I mean, we all know what that shit evolves into by 2025. You know what I mean? Like, sure, there's definitely, there's definitely still kids who work their family's farms. There's definitely still kids who work at the local farm during, school breaks to make some extra money. But the bulk of the children working farm jobs are kids migrating from farm to farm with their parents or sometimes alone. And they're doing it out of financial necessity, not because, you need to learn how to work the farm because one day you're going to inherit it, son.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of a fucking way of the bird.
Yeah. Or not, I really want to buy a Nintendo Switch. What's something I can work, what's something close by that I can work this summer?
Is it still a reality that like if your family owns a farm that you might get that farm one day?
I hope so.
I don't think that that's even like real. I think that if your father owns a fucking like a business, like a farm, and then he wants to retire, I don't think that he gets to just hand it off. I think there's like ridiculous fees and like all kinds of shit like that.
Hell if I know.
Yeah. And land stuff, I know like if you want like your parents' house, like you got to essentially buy the fucking house from like the bank.
Not entirely, but what do they call them? What they call the taxes.
Yeah. And if you want to give your children your homestead, you can go fuck yourself, I think is the...
Well, what happens is that the homestead expires and you can re-homestead it in the next year. But in that next year, the tax rate readjusts to the current rate. Right?
You got to go to the bank and you got to blow a fat banker smoking a cigar and say that you're a little fat girl.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, this isn't, the bulk of the kids working in these agricultural areas
love it.
Aren't doing it because they're going to inherit the farm. They're not doing it because they want to make a few bucks. They're doing it because, I won't eat. I won't have clothes. I won't have a roof. I won't have a fucking life if I, senorita 12-year-old fucking migrant, don't work full time. And again, this doesn't...
Am I a migrant child?
This doesn't need to be a political statement. I don't think that's something that any fucking 12-year-old ever needs to be thinking about, man.
Yeah.
Nah.
So, and by the way, a lot of these kids aren't even 12 years old. The nature of migrant work is that any number of migrants pass around and recycle a social security number, right? It's the same way in restaurants, right? You'll have 3 different guys that have worked, not usually at the same time, but one leaves and another guy comes, but he's got the same social security number as the last guy.
Yeah.
Right? That's just to legitimize them as far as the business is concerned. So it looks legal on the books. So underage kids that are, kids under 12 are compelled to work financially and work on these farms, and they just use a fucking social security number that says they're somebody that they're definitely not. And so 18-year-old Jerry McDougal is working here, but it's not. It's fucking, 10-year-old whatever.
Billy McDougal.
No, Jose McDougal. So watchdog groups estimate that there are probably...
They call me Harry.
Watchdog groups estimate there are probably around 500,000 children under 12 working in agriculture in the U.S.
Now?
500,000 now.
That's fucking
Current.
insane.
I think they call that a thriving economy.
We could be getting so many more. Yeah.
We could be getting so much more produce.
Why is this shit still so expensive?
Oh my God.
Get it together, agriculture.
Somebody get a whip on those 8-year-olds.
Jesus Christ.
Remember when America was great?
Fuck.
When the field hands had whips. I could keep spitting out stats about the number of farm accidents and injuries. I found breakdowns of, like literally broken down, machinery injuries and deaths. And that's like tractors and binders and stuff like that. I found motor vehicle injuries and deaths, like especially with ATVs, because they get used a lot on these big farms. Fucking drownings. All people working in the agricultural industry. Yeah.
Do they have like 11-year-olds doing underwater welding or something? I mean, it seems like they just put them in the most dangerous jobs possible, so it would track.
It kind of would at this point. Yeah, there are some fucking dismal stats associated with the fact that we still let even 12-year-olds legally work in agriculture, because a lot of them start way earlier than that, like 7, 8 years old. And so they know the ropes and can drop out of school by 12, 13 and make more money working the farms. That is what this has progressed to, right? because they need that income, because they're again, migrant families, vulnerable populations that need that money.
Mm-hmm.
And, I understand there are truancy laws and shit like that, but I mean, that shit nobody fucking pays attention to that bullshit.
I think we got these kids doing all the wrong jobs. Like, I want to see some more novel, like a 9-year-old little boy who's like a judge. Like with the wig and all that shit. Or like a cop.
I find you in contempt.
I was thinking the same kind of thing, but like I was thinking like it would be great to like say that
running
kids,
a fishing charter.
yeah, smoking a pipe,
Fucking
like,
8
we're getting some
and,
swells.
like, Alaskan king crab fishing.
That was basically my brother was he was like a dive instructor at like 16 years old or something, or but he was out on doing diving shit at like
I was
13, 14.
I was just thinking like it'd be fine to have kids work jobs if the jobs were actually just dope as hell. It's like it was like you're fucking 6. Where do you work? I work at the skate park.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm a
yeah,
NASCAR driver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fucking.
I think that is one of the things that you can have like a 14-year-old kid do.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's
exactly.
Yeah.
You're working at the
It's-
shop at the skate park.
Yeah, fucking. I'm like a surfboard fabricator or some shit. Like,
breathing fiberglass all day.
you wear the equipment. You just got to get the little child size.
Oh my God. So, by the way, also studies have shown that 10 to 20% of these kids, these 500,000 kids under the age of 12 working in agriculture, have had 10 to 20% have had a farm-related injury just within the last year.
Fuck.
Like 50% of them are already claiming to have chronic pain while they're still teenagers, like 17 years old.
That sounds about right.
Here's a fun one. Tobacco farms in the U.S.
Mhm.
allow children to work under the age of 18.
Interesting.
They're as young as 12 legally, probably younger, absolutely younger because of the stat I'm about to tell you. As recently as 2013, watchdog groups found children as young as 7 years old experiencing symptoms of acute nicotine poisoning while they were working tobacco fields.
Hot damn.
So they're going
it-
out there, getting their pinky lobbed off, getting tobacco juice all in it, and then rolling up a cig.
Yeah.
A little cigarillo.
I mean, chewing
At 7 years
tobacco leaves and shit, like,
Right.
when I was in New England last week, fucking, it's tobacco season. So like I like to drive back roads constantly, but living in the South so long, I forgot that there's crop rotations, because like you'll get like seasonal rotations kind of around here,
Yeah.
but it's like essentially from potatoes to sunflowers. Whereas,
Cabbage.
yeah, last time I was up north, it was, you root vegetables and shit because it was like autumn, so there's a lot of like, melons and fucking pumpkins and shit like that.
Mhm.
And then I was up there this time, and apparently like all of Massachusetts is just covered in tobacco fields. They're fucking
Jesus.
thousands and thousands of it. It's crazy.
And little 7-year-old migrants in there getting acute nicotine
Yeah,
poisoning.
that's it. Yeah. And somebody's got to work them.
By the way, we're not even getting into things like heat and sun exposure. Like the number of farms that don't have any emphasis whatsoever on providing clean, available water is
Which
big.
is funny because you figure, you got to water the plants. Why not water the kids?
They don't water the plants with clean water. You don't drink that shit.
Didn't they just rule in our beautiful state of Florida that they don't have to provide any sort of protection to the elements for their
Probably.
workers?
Yeah, probably.
Even their
Something
like
like
hired
that, yeah.
employees, much less
Yeah.
their migrant workers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are numerous deaths from heat stroke, fucking exposure to pesticides. I mean, they don't spray the fields that people are actively working in, but they'll spray the adjacent field and, wind exists.
Does it? Can you see it?
There's also the loss of education, which means these kids will never be able to advance career-wise, at least statistically won't be able to. Very few of them. And by the way, because the farms also have these different labor laws, they're exempt from certain FLSA laws, right? They can still pay piece rates.
Ooh. Getting paid by the tobacco.
By how many fruits or vegetables or whatever it is that you bring in at the end of the day.
Damn.
Which means that most of these kids make $2 to $3 an
Little
hour.
Javier better be making his quota.
$2 to $3 an hour.
Oof.
In 2025.
Yep. So, fuck, that's child labor. Happy Labor Day.
Yeah, today when you're barbecuing or something, whatever the fuck you do on Labor Day, I've traditionally always worked. But
Yeah, which
when
is
you think of
it's
that,
always
just
been funny.
think of the connotation of the holiday itself.
Yeah, I work Labor Days.
Check your wings
frequently.
for pinkies.
Yes, because if you get one, you're gonna sue, and you're gonna make so much fucking money.
Purdue has a lot of money. I think they're like the one of the top, if not the top.
Yeah.
like
If you
meat.
find, guys, I cannot stress this enough. If you get like a big bag of like chicken parts, so separated wings and those clear bags, right?
the big ones, the big frozen
if
ones.
you get those, if you can see like a little brown pinky in there, don't open the bag. Don't open the bag. Document it fully.
Yeah.
Videotape it and get all your serial numbers and everything in there.
A little
that's
frozen
your
brown pinky.
fucking payday.
A little frozen brown pinky makes me feel so sad.
Well, it is what it is, man. It's a rough world.
Jesus Christ.
Don't open it.
You know
No,
what?
well, because
If
once
I
you
make-
They're
open
gonna be
it,
like,
they
you
make
put that pinky
Yeah,
in there.
they'll absolutely argue that.
Do not fucking open that. God no. But if I make like $10 million off of suing Purdue for fucking a finger
Mhm.
being in the shit, I will donate $1 million to migrant pinkies.
I'll donate 9 million of it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
I make do with $1 million.
Yeah, you can. Sure. I think what 10th is pretty generous. It's generated $1 million for the Pinky Foundation.
I guess.
Sneak preview for the Monopoly thing. I earned this money. And I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't owe anybody anything.
I showed Drew the Monopoly.
Oh
thing
yeah.
yesterday.
Cool. That's a
Um,
good topic.
That's gonna be a dynamite one. That's coming. That's like over a month away. That's 2 months away. But yeah, fucking goddamn, bro. That again, this is like something that is part and parcel to how this nation became this nation, all the way up until 1938.
Yeah.
1938 is not that fucking long ago.
And that's only when we started putting laws on the shit. Like,
Yeah.
we're still using child labor. We've been very clear about
Like
that.
I said,
It's
the
all over
problem
place.
didn't go away. It just evolved.
So
we
you guys, think about it. When you wanna deport these illegal immigrants, just remember how many hardworking children you're kicking out of the economy.
Just remember how many hardworking corporations don't have any penalties whatsoever for hiring these people.
Yeah, listen,
But we wouldn't want to hurt them.
you're gonna crush these corporations by kicking out their labor force.
This is horrifying for somebody like me who will not shop at like a couple dozen box
Yeah,
stores.
you're never buying
Yeah.
Purdue ever again, are
Nope.
you? You're gonna go look at what
I won't.
JBS
Yeah.
Meat Packers is too.
I fucking won't. I might just stop eating meat because of the moral implications.
You're gonna have to go to like
I might just stop eating anything.
Can't eat
because of the-
anything because of the moral implications.
I'm gonna go fucking
Gotta
chew on the
grow your
grass
own
and the
food.
dirt outside.
yeah, there's local cattle ranches here where you can just buy a half a cow.
Can you buy a whole cow?
Sure.
Can you kill it yourself?
Might be an extra fee for that, but
Can you do like a machete to paint my face and Apocalypse Now it?
yeah, it'll cost you a couple $100 to buy a half a cow, and you need a big fucking chest freezer.
It's a
But
couple $100.
yeah, it's not that much.
Shit. Should get one of them freezers. I rent. I'm not doing that.
I saw
I'll do it.
You want to do it? You want to get
We'll put one out here.
put one out here? Fuck yeah! I'll get a cow. I'll get a whole goddamn cow. I'll bring it here. We'll kill it here.
Sometimes if you buy, did you already say this? If you buy the cow, they'll give you a deep freeze
The milk
with
for
it.
free.
You can get the milk for free. Damn it. They'll what? They'll do what?
My brother was telling me with some of these places, they'll straight up give you a deep freeze with the cow.
Damn,
That's cool.
that would
Yeah.
be cool. It'd be fucking super rad.
That's basically the
Well, because the cow's going to be fucking expensive.
the price of the cow pays for the deep freezer.
I only
Yeah.
want
the
it
deep
though.
freezer costs like $200.
I only want it though is because if you open the freezer, I only want it if like the cow is like staring up at me in
Just the head.
the horror.
I don't know if
No,
they
they
give you the
send
head.
it. They send it fully
If
processed.
you can't don't
So
get the head, how are you
like-
gonna get the head cheese?
They send it fully processed. So they send you X amount of fillets, X amount of sirloins, X amount of ribeyes, X amount. Like
It's fucking
they
lazy.
process the whole cow for you.
Sounds very lazy.
That cheese is so fucking gross.
Yeah, it's
I worked
super
at
gross.
Publix in
You
the
get,
deli.
but I mean, you get your skirt
Gotta cut
steaks,
that
you
shit.
get your fucking rump roast, you get all the things that you get every cut from an entire half of a cow, and it's like
Feel like you're losing a
$200
lot there though in trade, because there'll be scraps on the meat. Maybe I want the bones. If I don't have the bones, how am I going to make my bone outfit?
you could
You gotta-
You
don't
could
want
probably
the,
request-
get the cartilage, you
probably
eat that
request
shit.
a bag of bones.
I use my bone in my rituals.
You could probably be like, hey, can you throw in all the bones?
My bones.
Throw a bone in me.
You threw a bone in me, baby.
All right, I think
All right,
that's gonna be it.
That's
for-
been today.
If you like this episode, please search your soul and try and figure out what's wrong with you. But if you still like this episode, leave us a 5-star rating, leave us a review if whatever you're listening to allows for that. Look for us on Instagram, Delete Everything Podcast.
Look
and
for us at the first light, the turn of the tide.
Look to the north.
Look to the north. That's it.
And, if you want to send us a message, little, hey, what's up? Delete Everything Podcast at gmail.com. And finally, if you're all out of episodes to listen to on whatever you're listening to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever the fuck you listen to us on, you can go on Patreon. Patreon.com/Delete Everything Podcast. There's 42, 43 episodes up.
So I don't know. Stop counting.
Yeah. Bonus episodes there. Episodes you've never heard. They're about 40 to 50 minutes long, and they're fun.
We just did one. Was it? I can't even remember. Fugue State. Was it Super Unhinged?
We did.
It was pretty unhinged.
We
yeah.
did curses.
Oh, I talked about how I collect curse items.
Oh yeah. Keep
Yeah.
a lookout
Yeah.
for a new app coming from our LLC.
Yeah. Curse by Blanco.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That is a good one. Yeah.
All right, that's going to be it for us this week. We'll see you next week.
Oh wait,
Bye.
do we have any
What?
listeners in Colorado? Can you cut me
Yes.
some of that vampire tree?
We have plenty of listeners in Colorado.
So if you're in Colorado, fucking get with me because I got a mission for you. I'll send you like $100.
Riley really wants a vampire. Where
You
did
find out on the Patreon. Bye.
No, it's not on the Patreon. It's
We
on
just
Cryptids
did the
too.
Patreon.
No, but
We were just talking about
the
it.
location is. I don't think I said the location whenever I.
I'm gonna fucking fade this out.
All right, guys. Bye. I got a piece.
There's probably some prehistoric buggery as well.